Hey everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the best darn show on the internet or anywhere ever. The Sharon Show. Welcome back everybody. We're excited to continue our series on the Tao Te Ching. And today we're going to be covering verses 33, 34. But before we get into that, obviously, I have a quote I'm going to bring up and then Sharon's going to pull a card. The lovely Sharon. Here we go. Today's quote is I learned that every mortal will taste death, but only some will taste life. And that is by Rumi, or attributed to Rumi at least. Who
Rumi,
knows, right?
Rumi. I don't know
Rumi,
that much
Rumi.
about him, but we've read quite a few of his quotes. The first time I heard the name Rumi and I saw a lot of people quoting like poetry and stuff. Oh, there's Robo Honky. He's guessing 4 of cups. We're doing I Ching today, but pick a number, any number from 1 to 64.
There you go. Pick a number. What's up,
Ah,
Robo
this
Honky?
is Jones. Oh my
Still the
God.
best name on the internet. You should comment more on our videos, Robo Honky, because I
Ah.
want to see your name. Goes for everybody. Comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, right? Morelawsmoreproblems.com for more. Click on the Oversharing tab. It's the first time I've done a commercial in a while in the beginning. There we go.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Many ways to support us. What's up, Cody? Is he in the background over there?
Cody asked if we're live. I'm like, yes. Sorry.
Cody, if you had the bell clicked, you would know. No, like the bell,
Oh.
Cody.
All right, here. Um, all right, so they guessed Robo Hockey guessed 54, Dissident Jones guessed 51. I picked the 19. But earlier I did see the 59 in there as I was shuffling. So you guys were close with the one that I saw. Um, wow, this one's kind of pretty if I could.
Hang on, hold it there for one. There we go. Now
Oh,
you're
it's so
pinned.
bright. Ugh, can't
Oh,
even
yeah.
uh,
Oh, you could see it, I think.
can't see see? I have to turn it a little bit so you could see there's too much
Glare wasn't too
brightness.
bad on my end, though. But yeah, the
So,
trees, you can't really see them when you.
yeah, the approach of spring. Indeed, spring
Ooh,
is approaching.
and tomorrow's Groundhog's Day, isn't it?
Yes, I forgot
Two
about
two.
that.
Tomorrow's 2-2.
Yes. Earth above, lake below. See what the I Ching has for. Oh, you know what's funny? I forgot to put this one back. So we didn't have 64 in there as I shuffled, which is fine because we picked it last time. So let's look for number 19 in here. It says, spring is coming, good times seem inevitable, and there is vitality in the air. This is a most auspicious time, like a snake emerging from hibernation. Negative forces are only beginning to stir and can effectively be controlled. This is a time of hopeful progress and must be used to one's best advantage. When approaching good fortune, conscientious work pays great dividends. A clear road lies ahead. In the spring, seeds that have been lying dormant are ready to bloom. Act now, for at some point, this ripe opportunity for advancement will be challenged. No spring lasts forever. It's wise to stay alert and note the changing signs of the times. In doing so, preparing for less fertile times is a noble and fruitful effort. Make the most of the season now. And it is a beautiful day out here. It's about just under 70 degrees in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And I have the window open because it's so nice.
Nice. Yeah, it's like in the 40s here, which for Connecticut is pretty nice in the winter. Usually it's in the 20s.
That's
So
good.
it's a good card to get for both of us. We got a little hint of spring coming here.
Yeah, because we were talking about that before we even started the show. So
Synchronicities
good
abound.
good syncs.
Yeah, good sinks indeed. And it's funny because I was thinking of the date in 2-1 and how it's going to be 2-2 and 2024. And of course, I always think about what happened in 2020, the 2020s, and now it's been 4 years ago. So I was looking through the Brandon Bonanza folder right here on the Brandon Bonanza YouTube channel. You could click on my playlist, and I have a bunch of different interviews and solo stuff. And if you go back far enough, I have some stuff from 2020, early 2020, right around February, around this time. I was doing a live stream. It was like my first real live stream that I was doing solo. And I had the series plan that was called End Times. And I was asking the question, are we in the end times right now? And this
Oh,
is
yeah.
February again, everybody, 2020. So it's before, they were still talking about
Much nonsense. Yeah.
the cough, the coof, and it was happening in other countries. But if you mentioned to somebody covering their smiling face or whatever, they would think you were crazy. Or if you told them
Mm-hmm.
about locking things down, they'd be like, "What are you, nuts? That would never happen."
Yeah.
Um, so I did this series. The first one was about war. And like I said, I didn't really think we were in the end times. I was just trying to take stories from the Bible and stuff like Sodom and Gomorrah and then equate them to today, and then to talk about what causes society to be in these times that seem like end times, right? The behavior of people. So the first one was about war, and the second one I called it Coronu Boogaloo or whatever, because it was the coof. And then like a week later, everything shut down. So because I think I did do that one probably because they don't say the date on YouTube anymore. I guess I can go in the studio and look, but it just says like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever.
Yeah,
Video.
if you click on just the description, then it will tell you the actual date. Like if
Oh,
you
okay, cool.
click more, it will tell
Ah,
you the actual date.
give me more so I could go check that out. But
Yeah.
I remember though I had a third one planned and I stopped it because of the shutdown and stuff. But I was doing this live stream where I was basically just talking about all the stuff that was going on, like the PCR tests and how it's, all this stuff that we know we've come to love. But I was talking about this before even the lockdown. So I just want to give a shout out to myself for being such a great legend. And I feel like we're the kind of
Legends on
people.
a map.
That's right, legends on map. And I feel like Sharon fits in so well with me in this show. We work together so well because we have this same uh, attribute or quality about us, I guess we could say, where we're kind of early adopters, where we get onto things before other people do. So honestly, that's why I've been calling the show the best darn show on the internet, because I feel like years down the line, people are going to be like, "Whoa, look at these people." We'll already be like raptured, or who knows? We'll be like, we'll be in the fourth dimension somewhere, or whatever. I don't know what happens, but we'll probably be that. I could see that as a scenario. I'll just say I'm not going to sit here saying like I'm a cult leader, like follow me and we'll go to the fifth dimension or whatever.
And
But
take the
people are going to
Kool-Aid.
be, yeah, take the Kool-Aid, guys. I'm brewing it right now. But I feel like after we're gone, people are going to be like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, look at this stuff! It was amazing. They were nailing it." And it's not to be cocky, everybody. I feel like this is just something that's happened to me a lot. I was always onto things early, and then people got onto them, and they're like, "Whoa," like all kinds of different things. But yeah, that's why I call this the best darn show on the internet, because I feel like we're really nailing it with what we talk about. We don't really get involved in the drama, and it's funny because I was talking about current events and that, and I was like sharing videos and articles and reading from them, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, I have no idea what's even going on right now. All I've seen lately, the thing was except for today, I guess, because it's over. But everybody kept talking about how long January is. They're like, it's still January. Somebody was like, it feels like it's January 73rd today. And I'm like, I don't
That's
know, man. It
weird.
seems to be flying by to me, but I think it's
Uh-huh.
because of all the psyops, like it's an
Oh.
election year. They're probably flying them psyops out one after another. So
January
stay strong out there,
73rd.
everybody. Yeah, January 73rd. I thought that was pretty funny. But I
Oh
was
my
like, I
God.
don't know, man. It feels like
Welcome to the 73rd day of January, everyone.
it's still January. But nope, not anymore.
Nope,
Today's
it's
February,
not.
so you made it. It's a short month too, so it'll go by quick. It's not leap year, is it?
I don't even know. Welcome, Z.
I guess I could just look at my calendar and see if there's a February 29th.
Oh yeah, you could.
My
Um,
grandfather was born on February 29th. How crazy
so
is
he
that?
only had a birthday every 4 years. Good for
Yep.
him. He
Oh,
aged a lot more slowly, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Unfortunately, he passed away of a heart attack when I was 5 because
No.
that guy loved me. It was my mom's father. My mom was adopted, so it wasn't her true father, but he was amazing. And I have memories of him, even though I passed away when I was 5. I remember him making like we used to bake. He used to make me like tapioca pudding and all this stuff. And we went to Great Adventure, which is a Six Flags in New Jersey. You know, I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
Cody
never
knows about it.
went.
And when I was like 3, my this is a story when I went home for the holidays. My mom told Elizabeth and I forgot about. I mean, I knew this story, but I forgot about it. But she told it in more detail. It was my mother, my father, and I think my grandfather, and they were at Six Flags with me, and they were in a store, and all of a sudden they couldn't find me, and they started freaking out because I wasn't anywhere, and they thought they went to my grandfather. I wasn't with him, and so they started to freak out, and I'm like a 3-year old running around in Great Adventure, which you guys can just imagine at night, or it's a little bit dark.
Oh my God.
And I have memories of this too, which is really crazy because my parents had this wall hanger thing, that rolls up and it hangs out and it's like black felt. It's like total 80s, and it had like a whole Great Adventure thing with like lions and all this stuff. And I remember looking at that all the time and having these memories because they had the sky ride thing, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. It's just like this cart that's in the sky that gets pulled from the top and there's windows and people look out. And I remember looking up and seeing that when I was lost for some reason. I was like, I don't even know if I was scared. But anyway, my mom tells a story where they started walking. She just had this feeling to walk a certain way. She has a really good intuition. And there was a band playing and I was there dancing. I was
That's
just dancing.
hilarious. That's
So
funny
I
as
was like, yeah, that sounds pretty in character for Brandon, even at 3 years old or 4 years old or whatever I was. So yeah, and again, it was like the late 70s, early 80s, so it was much different than it is today. People were probably a little more laxed.
Boogie Wonderland.
So I mean, there were several times where I almost disappeared or died. I almost died in a car fire in McDonald's when I was
Oh
younger.
my
I've told that
God.
story a bunch of times. So they keep trying, but they can't take me down.
Whoever the they is.
Yeah, whoever causes fires in Dodge Omnis. It's Chrysler, damn it. They were trying to get me. Yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to tell that little side story and
Yeah. I was going to say that when you're talking about being early adopters, I noticed, so now I say, that once Costco starts selling what I like in bulk, I've already stopped liking it. Like there was a time where I was like buying regular kombucha like by the 12 bottle case, right? And like time passed and time passed, Costco still didn't carry it. And then finally when I was over it and I was like, nah, I'm cool. I don't need that much kombucha. Now Costco's, I mean, I don't know if they still do, but then once I was over it, they started selling it in bulk. I was like, well, there you go.
that's how you know. That's your mark where it like jumps the shark. You ever heard that phrase, jump the
Mm.
shark? Like they say it a lot in TV, kind of when a TV series plays itself out or just isn't cool and you know what I mean? Like it's not fun anymore. Like kind of like South Park when they oh, let's not talk about that. But anyway, so I'm still not over it. No. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. That's a great indicator. Once you see a bulk thing at Costco, that's so true. I recommend going to Aldi. They have a kombucha there. It's not like quite a store brand, but they have their own brand, I guess, that gets made. I think they sell it at Trader Joe's too. But it's like $1.79 or something. Whereas and it's all organic. It doesn't have that many ingredients. It's great. And most kombuchas are like 3, 4, $5 now. It's crazy. So
Um,
it's our Aldi commercial again. Didn't we do one?
yeah. So, Dissident Jones says he could mail a SCOBY if I'd want to brew my own. Well, that's the funny thing is I used to brew my own back in 2013, like or
He's an early
12, 20,
adopter.
yeah, 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. I was brewing my own and I was brewing way too much. Like I couldn't finish it and then it would just sit in the It would sit on the counter. And then I started like I started putting it into my I just put it in my pantry. And then every
I
time I
thought
would
you were going to
pass
say your pants. I'm like, Sharon, no.
and every time I would pass by the pantry because I would let it sit for like a couple weeks. I would start smelling like vinegary stuff and I'd be like like so I better harvest this quickly. But yeah, it started to get like a lot like too much for me. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done harvesting it myself.
Well,
And then I got
that's
into
what I
the
like.
heifer and then I was doing
Oh,
that. Yeah.
well, that's what I like about our attitude and why we get along so well is because we both are willing to try things and really go like ham, like full force into it and really do it the right way. And then if we don't like it or it's boring, we just give up. We're like, ah, whatever, but we're willing to do that because I think a lot of people stay attached to certain things because they feel like they're failing. If they try something and then they don't like it and they stop doing it, which I've done a lot in my life. And when I was younger, I think I kind of used to feel like a failure because of it. Like I took a real estate class and I even took the test, but I didn't pass the first time. But I wasn't I and then I was just like, you know what? I don't really want to do real estate. Like this just seems like a nightmare. I mean, it looks
I
like a
have
good place.
family who's done real estate and still does some. And I'm just like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have really close friends that do it, and even my dad, he's the one he paid for the class for me to go take it because he was like, this looks like something you'd want to do, but I don't know, man. Anyway, but
Like
yeah,
a
so that
used car salesman for houses.
yeah, well, that's what I
Kidding.
did car sales for like 8
I
years.
know,
So
I
that's
know.
what
That's what I'm saying. He was transitioning you from the car
yeah,
salesman to the house salesman.
it's like you can sell houses now, but it also what's crazy about that is you have to basically be available whenever, like Sundays and Saturday. I mean, I work a lot of weekends now anyway, but still,
Yeah, you're like 24/7. It's
yes,
like
and
your life.
yeah, and then I got into DJing, and I really love that, and I still do that to this day, 16 almost years later. So you never know, everybody. You just got to keep doing it, and then if you don't like it, you stop. It's just like the doing it till you're done thing we talk
Yeah.
about, right? So
Yes, that's been me with all the things I've tried. It's
yeah,
just
like I
until you're
planted
done.
a ginormous, well, not a ginormous, but a pretty decent garden 2021, and then I haven't really done much since. But we already started talking about what we want to do here in the spring, so I'm excited. We'll probably keep it small, but just do something because I mean we could at least grow rosemary, and basil and things like that, and
I
maybe
have
some.
rosemary in my front yard.
Yeah, rosemary's great. We put it in like everything, so
I made rosemary lamb the other day. We still have leftovers.
it's
It's like it's like shredded beef, but it's lamb. And we made like lamb tacos and yeah. We're probably gonna have the last bit of it today. It's really
amazing.
tasty.
Enjoy it.
Hmm?
Said amazing. Enjoy it. I cooked
So
breakfast yesterday. I do this thing with potatoes. I'll just like chop them up if they're smaller ones. Um, Sometimes I don't, but I'll bake them for a little while, maybe like 20 minutes. Then I chop them up or whatever, and I put them in a frying pan, and I'll put like mushrooms and onions, like olive oil, and just all kinds of spices, and just let it soak it all up. So it's like the star of the show. Make some eggs, had some turkey bacon. I love to cook. So
Aldi turkey bacon, just kidding.
Aldi. No, this time it was. I think we got it from Whole Foods because we were there. Sometimes we go there just to get a few things, and Elizabeth was like totally ready to be out of the store. I'm the kind of person, I move at a glacial pace. We were talking about this earlier, so I'll just look at everything and
Yeah,
compare it,
I'm
try
like
to
that
find.
too. I look at everything.
Yeah, and she was ready to be out. We came from somewhere else. We were doing some things. We were just stopping. It was like 8 o'clock at night, so she was just ready to be out. And I'm looking. She's like, just grab that one. It's I was like, all right. I'm like, but it's the most expensive one. She's like, I don't worry, whatever. It's like, all right. It was good though. So it was the Applegate brand, I think, or something. I don't know.
Oh,
One of the
Applegate.
yeah. I used to eat their pork bacon too, but I don't really do pork so much anymore.
Mm,
But anyway,
yes.
So what's how you been, Sharon?
Good. Um,
I
just
like our
good.
little scats in the before we get into the Dow when we talk about things. And everyone get excited because episode 99 is coming up soon, and our plan is to do a little kind of explanation of what oversharing is, cover maybe some of the things we've talked about in the past, those core values of oversharing. Maybe we could talk about how we got to what we're doing and stuff like that. So we're doing like a oversharing for dummies kind of episode, I guess you could call it. So people could get an idea of what we're all about if they're new, also, and just a little recap for all our other fans, not slaves fans, all our fans, because I feel like we've been just doing the Dow series or having guests on, so we really haven't done like a classic oversharing episode like we used to do. So it's going to be more like that, guys. So make sure you check it out. It should be in about 2 weeks. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we have
Okay.
some really cool guests planned for the upcoming months too, or
Yeah, we
ideas
do.
planned
I'm
for shows.
excited
So stick
about
around. It's gonna change a little bit. We'll probably continue the Dow series too, but I mean we're gonna continue that until it's done. But in the middle we're gonna sprinkle in some new things. So I'm excited.
me too.
Yeah. Oh, what are we talking about today, Sharon?
Well, we have verse 33 and 34, and they're not super long. I you know, the last couple ones have been, a little long, so these will be maybe short and sweet. So,
Lao Tzu's giving us a little break.
yeah.
Thanks, Lao Tzu. All right, so I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? Let's see. What's it doing? It does this. When I share the screen, it's so weird. It brings up something else instead of what I'm sharing on my screen anyway. Okay, verse 33 of the Tao Te Ching. I'm going to start by reading the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. Endure forever.
Enduring.
Endeavor.
All right. Well, Dwight Goddard, The Virtue Day of Discrimination. So I'm guessing, oh no, never mind. I was thinking of something else. Okay. He who knows others is intelligent. He who understands himself is enlightened. He who is able to conquer others has force, but he who is able to control himself is mighty. He who appreciates contentment is wealthy. He who dares to act has nerve. If he can maintain his position, he will endure. There's that word endure again. But
Mm-hmm.
he who dying does not perish is immortal.
Ah, all right. So now we're going to the Stan Rosenthal version. I guess I can highlight them as we read them just so people can follow along a little better. There we
Well,
go.
see,
Instead
that
of
was
just,
the longer one.
oops. And yeah. She's like, of course, Stan Rosenthal coming through. He's like, all right, I'll make this one long for everybody. So Stan Rosenthal from 1984, he entitles this verse "Without force, without perishing." Okay, sorry, I got to get a little closer. There we go. Without force, without perishing. Knowledge frequently results from knowing others, but the man who is awakened has seen the uncarved block. Others might be mastered by force, but to master oneself requires the Tao. He who has many material things may be described as rich, but he who knows that he has enough and is at one with the Tao might have enough of material things and have self being as well. Willpower may bring perseverance, but to have tranquility is to endure, being protected for all his days. He whose ideas remain in the world is present for all time.
The discrimination vivica of day. That's what I was thinking is Dwight Goddard says the virtue or the day of discrimination. And then Aleister Crowley actually says it kind of backwards. He says it
Well,
the
I like that,
opposite.
like the
The
apophatic
dis
way.
Yeah. Well, he I suppose. Is it apophatic? I don't know. But I didn't know this word vivica. Is it? I don't know that. I was going to look it up and then I forgot.
Oh, well, we could always look it up during the breakdown.
Yeah. All right. So I will read. He who understands others understandeth two, but he who understands himself understands one. He who conquers others is strong, but he who conquers himself is stronger yet. Contentment is riches, and continuous action is will. He who adapts himself perfectly to his environment continues for long. He who dies without dying lives forever. I love that.
Yeah,
The
Aleister
dies
Crowley.
without dying is like I just watched what's his name? Aaron Abkey on a um in an interview yesterday, and it came out yesterday, I guess, yesterday or the day before. And it was really it was really cool because he was telling his kind of his story, his background of how he um used to, be I mean, he was a pastor's kid growing up. And then he tells all this stuff. But he mentions this topic of you know, I think it was him who said it. I've been reading so many books too, so I don't know. But it was about dying, I think, but it's not about actual death. It's like dying to yourself, to your old, you know, to your desires, to
Like an
this
ego death, kind of.
physical man. Yeah, ego death. Yeah, exactly. I think they said ego death in that too. So yeah, I think it was him. But yeah, good good
Yeah,
quote
he's a good
there.
resource. He doesn't. I like it because he doesn't seem too new agey, and he
Yeah,
knows
I
what's
mean,
up with 2020. So
a lot of people think he does, but I don't. I think I really like his stuff.
yeah, I think maybe some men might get turned off by him because he's kind of like a pretty boy a little bit, but
Yeah.
I, I get all that. Like I think I was kind of used to be like that myself, but it's just everyone has their own thing, right? Then I just started letting my hair grow. I'm like, I'm just gonna let everything grow, and that look again. And I'm a pretty boy again without even trying.
You're a hippie. I mean, heathen boy.
I didn't even shave my eyebrows, but yeah, no, definitely a good resource. So I mean, that's the thing. What he says, maybe you could judge how he looks and everything, but what he says, most of it's pretty on point. So good enough for me.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. So want to
Okay.
let's break these down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, getting my share on here. All right, let's click off of that. So I'm gonna start this breakdown with the Stephen Mitchell 1988. We'll just read the first part here. Very simple. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. And I like this. It's a little of an analogy here, and it's not saying anything's bad, right? Knowing others is intelligent. So it's like it's good to know others. We're not telling you not to, right? But if you want true wisdom, know thyself, know yourself. Same thing with mastery. When you master others, we know a lot of people in this realm who have mastery over others and they have strength. But the people who have true power are the ones that master themselves.
Indeed. Um, what do you think he means by mastering others? Like knowing others? Well, that's kind of the line before that. So,
What it reminds me of really is projection here. So, if you could hang out with a bunch of people or talk to somebody and you could figure out what's wrong with them, be like, oh, this person has issues with attachment, and I see how it's affecting their life, and you could probably diagnose their problem better than they can. Um, so that's kind of like a mastery over others. You can look
Mm,
at it in that way, but you can
yeah.
also look at it as in somebody who has people below them, either working for them or as slaves, or you can even look at like the government, right, as a lot of people under mind control, because that's what government means. You can look at it that way. So they have power. But true power, though, the real power is to master or know thyself.
Yes. I love that. Dwight Goddard says, well, actually, I'll let Brandon bring it up.
Got it. Go ahead.
He who knows others is intelligent. He who understands himself is enlightened. But he who is able to conquer others has force. Or sorry, he who is able to conquer others has force, but he who is able to control himself is mighty. So I like this one more because, I mean, just in the sense that it says people, it contrasts the conquering other people is like forceful, right? As with with yourself, it's mighty, it's a strength rather than a like I'm gonna be powerful over you or I'm gonna exert my force over you. So I like that. And the first two versus the intelligence is it's on they both say that, and then one says true wisdom while the other one says enlightened. So knowing self is wisdom and being enlightened. That's cool.
Yeah. So it looks like Stephen Mitchell was taking the same idea of intelligence and equating it to wisdom and saying true wisdom. He's making that an analogy, whereas Dwight Goddard is just going right from intelligent to enlightened, which is
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah.
A whole different thing. I mean, it could, you could say that somebody with enlightenment has true wisdom or whatever. It could be
Yeah.
interchangeable in that way, but just the words,
Mm-hmm.
the relation from intelligence to wisdom, because a lot of people will confuse intelligence with wisdom and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and
Indeed.
you're right. I do like how he says the conquer part, because he says who is able to conquer others. It has more of a feel of, like
Like you
wartime
said,
stuff.
government.
Yeah, like I said, government, even just somebody who is strong. Like you'll see somebody who's like a big guy who's strong and has like power. Maybe it's like a crime boss or whatever, or Hell's Angel, something like that. But
Mafioso.
so you might say that they have force, but he who is able to control himself is mighty, which is, you think of like mighty, they use that word with the Almighty God and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. He's getting a little more mystical with his word usage.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Bring this downtown, and we're going to talk about
Town.
Mr. Stan Rosenthal from 1984. Here we go. Knowledge frequently results from knowing others, but the man who is awakened has seen the uncarved block. I like that. It's a lot more. It's funny because it's Stan Rosenthal, who's usually the wordy one, the direct one. He's using more of an
Allegory metaphor.
yeah, allegory metaphor. Exactly. That's the words I was looking for. Those are the words. Others might be mastered by force, but to master oneself requires the Tao. So he just
Mm.
goes right for the Tao here, and
Yeah.
he'll say things like might be. So he's not making really statements here. He's just like, oh,
Could
others
it
might be
be?
mastered by force, but to master oneself requires the Tao.
And he entitles it without force, without perishing.
Yep. So it's talking about how, like we always say, kind of just go with the flow, right? You're not forcing things. And if you're not forcing things, as you think about it, most times when you're trying to go against the flow, this isn't true with everything. Sometimes crazy things happen. But when you're going against the flow in a situation or something's happening, you're not happy about it, you're really not accepting it. And it seems like you're more concerned with your attachments, right? You're not trusting the plan. You have some fear. You're more like, oh, I think that it should be this way. And it would seem to me that God or whoever the universe is saying, nope, this is the way it is. And it's going to be, you can accept it or you can suffer. And that doesn't mean that you can't change your circumstance or that you have to just sit there and take everything that happens to you. But it's just about accepting that first part or whatever happens. And then from there, you could say, oh, well, I don't like the way this worked out or this result or whatever it is that's happening. I didn't like it. What led me here? And then you look at your own steps, right? That's the way I do it. How did I get in this situation? Not what happened to me. No, no. How did I place myself in this situation? And then if I don't want it to happen again, then I won't do this or I'll try to find another way or whatever. So, yeah. Again, best darn show on the internet.
Okay, legend on a map.
uh, yeah, see, it's a good thing I'm a comedian. So if you don't know, like, is he really serious or is he playing a character? No, it's the best darn show on the internet. Everybody, I know this. God told me.
That's
I
right.
had a vision, and there was a burning bush. Yeah, it was weed. It was a burning bush of weed, but don't worry about that.
That's hilarious.
It was a,
Dude, that is so funny. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. Can you stop real quick?
yeah.
So that I don't think you got to watch it, right? The interview with Aaron Abkey.
No, no.
Okay, so the other guy who was interviewing him, they had a lot in common. And they're both kind of like teachers, of things, right? One could say the way, perhaps. I'm not
Spirituality.
making claims, but they're spiritual teachers. So anyway, um, the one guy asks Aaron, um, so Jesus, he's like, weed. He's like, I think Jesus partook of the, you know, substance. And he's like, what about you? And Aaron's like, most definitely. I don't know if it was weed or if it was psilocybin, mushrooms or something, but I can't remember. I think it was maybe it was mushrooms. But
Manna
he's
from
like, you
heaven.
think you think Jesus did that? And he's like, oh yeah, I think so. Like I think that was more prevalent back in those days, to do that sort of thing and to um open your eyes to that kind of that spiritual realm sort of thing. But why did I say that?
Because I
What did
said
you
the
say
burning
that?
bush.
Yes, so now that made me think of that.
I think I've heard a comedian or somebody make a reference like that before, so it's not my
Um,
original. I just like
okay.
to say that, but I don't,
That's
you can
funny
still
as
use it in
heck.
context because yeah. I saw the burning bush. It might have been weed, but whatever.
That's hilarious.
It was a burning shroom,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so anyway, that was
or
my
maybe it
little
was a tobacco plant. I mean, I like just this is just tobacco, everybody. I'm not even smoking weed. How dare you judge me just because I look like this? Huh. I probably will later, though. Allegedly,
Cody smoked I was gonna say a pipe, a cigar yesterday. A Rocky Patel of all.
Rocky Patel. I
Yes.
don't. What is that? Is that like a good brand or?
It's a brand he likes.
Oh, you're just being because of the name.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What's the good Macanudo? I think that's a good
Oh, really? I've never heard.
Macanudo. I
I
think that's
only hear the ones if he references them and buys them. That's the only ones I know.
pretty sure I've heard that before. Anywho,
Zeralath says Jesus was in a rogue sect of Dionysian rites.
yeah, he was
In a priestess role? I don't know.
Dionysius Christ. Oh well, maybe because of cannabis is kind of feminine. I've heard people say
Okay.
that before. Hmm.
So,
Here we go.
sorry. I will read. Wait, yeah, okay, sorry. We're Aleister Crowley. Okay. And he calls this the discrimination vivica of day. He who understands others understands two, but he who understands himself understands one.
I love that.
I know. He who conquers others is strong, but he who conquers himself is stronger yet. So, what's funny is as I was putting the slides together, copy pasting from the web version, sometimes there are typos. Where there was a typo in this one, in the title, it said the discrimination Vivica of the. And I'm like, the what? I think it was last time too, it did that. So I just double checked it. And of course, it was TEH. So it's day. So
It's a little
when,
encoding there. If you didn't
huh?
know, if we didn't know what day was and we're just reading this, we could have been like,
Yes,
oh, maybe they're
they
missing
cut
something.
something off. Right. So, but I referenced another, I have a PDF, but if you understand others, you understand too, because, well, maybe I'm not sure, but at least you're understanding people's egos. And I don't know what the two means, like your own ego and their ego. I don't know, but maybe you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I had a kind of a different thought, but I like what you said about the source. And one that does it falls right into what I was thinking because two is like a separation, right? So everybody that
Yes, yes, good call. That could just mean separation.
yeah,
Absolutely.
people who uh, know the two, they only know separation. They look at everyone else as if they're separate, like we're not all part of the same god or entity or whatever, right? We're all finger puppets, as Krishna would say in the Bhagavad Gita, right? We're all just finger puppets of God, and he's just playing things out. He's like, oh, you're gonna attack you. But that's the whole theme of the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone, you don't even have to watch it. Just do the finger puppets, and you'll get it. Like, wait, this is me, and this is the guy I'm fighting, and but this is me too. What? So I think that's like the default, especially anyway in our society. The default is to know the two and to know the separation, and but the one is like enlightenment is the merging. It's when you realize that we're all one. And of course, the New Age has a what would Michael Tsarian say? Like they have a ball with it. They have a circus with this whole idea. It's like they just want you to sit around all day and be like, oh, everything's great. I could just sit here and share Instagram new agey things and talk about how I'm all love and light, but not do the work and blame everyone else and all that kind of stuff. So I think that the one is really knowing the true source, like you said. I'm glad you said that. It's perfect.
Yeah.
See how we come to this dissection with both of
Yeah.
our ideas and we meld them together. It's so amazing.
Lots of syncs. Because even when you were talking about the finger puppets and like, oh, you're saying this and blah blah blah. Um, like one of the guys I know that's in one of the group chats I'm in, he's starting to make videos of his daughter like doing role plays. Well, not role play, but like she has all her little dolls out and she like is on she's doing her own little show. He's doing like a show for her. So she's like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna unbox this, toy, and so she unboxes and all these little dolls and blah 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 and she's playing with them, right? And she's acting them all out. So that was kind of it reminded me of that. And then yesterday Joe P sent a video to us in a different chat too. And he said, or sorry, and the video was it was like an MBTI related video, but it showed people like it showed the two people who are the main people of the YouTube video typing these two girls who were like adult women playing with dolls. I was like, what is this? This is so crazy. So anyway, that was like weird, but that you said that and like it made me think of those two coincidences, kind of
Yeah,
coincidences.
coincidence. Yeah, and I think it's funny because that reminds me of when I was younger and I used to play with like Weeble Wobbles, and there was this other thing I forgot what they were called, but they're like these little plastic people. They were about this big, and they had like a hole in the bottom of them, and you could like put them in different things. So I'd like put them in this
In a
car, drive
pencil? I'm just kidding.
almost a little bigger, a little bigger. I forget what they're called. I could probably look them up, but I would like drive them around the living room, and we had like a different color carpet. So like there was like some was water. Yeah, so it's the same thing, right? I just realized that I can use that as an analogy. Like remember when you were a kid and did you have an imagination and used to play with
Yeah.
all these things? That's just like we are now. We're just that aspect. But instead of the role, like in that role, you were God controlling everything. But now there's another God that we're a part of. But that reminds me of something. I kind of think I had a little bit of an epiphany last night, and I was going to send you a message, but then I was totally
Got
forgot.
distracted.
I'm so easily distracted. Um, where we were talking about the whole
Squirrel.
internal dialogue thing. What squirrel? What? Oh, we were
Yeah, the
talking about
internal
how some
dialogue.
people don't have internal dialogue. Well, I was thinking about what if those people read a book, because in books all the characters have internal dialogues. Well, the
Isn't
main
that
characters and stuff. So
right?
what did the people who don't have internal dialogues make of that?
Right. Good question. Very good question. And because I've seen a couple videos since then, and one of them was, I think I saw like a comment to the video, and it said, every time I heard people mention that, something about like, oh, if you're thinking this in your mind, blah, 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 they always thought or assumed that it was just like a metaphor. They didn't think that people actually heard things in their head. And
Oh,
people who are like, who have no inner monologue of like voices or thoughts, like words and sentences, they may see things. They may see like to-do lists or things like that, as opposed to like something in their mind going, you forgot to turn the oven off. You forgot to make an appointment with XYZ. Like, you're thinking those thoughts, but for them, they may see something like a to-do list with a checklist or something. They aren't necessarily hearing voices in their head or anything. So to them, they think that is like wacko. Like, oh, you hear voices in your head?
I do. You better be nice.
So they think we're crazy. Anyway,
Maybe
it's
we
just
are.
a fascinating topic.
Just like Nietzsche said, those who were seeing something about people that were seen dancing were thought those who saw people dancing were crazy, who didn't hear the music or whatever. Or the people
Oh,
who didn't hear the music
yes,
thought the
yes.
people who were dancing were crazy. That
Yes,
kind of thing. Yeah.
like when you're on the street driving or whatever, and you see somebody on the road and they're just like dancing their butt off, but they have earphones or headphones or AirPods or whatever in their ears. You can't hear what they're playing, so you don't know that they're just, rocking out to the music. And so you might be like,
Little crazy. And
yeah,
especially it must have been even crazier back then in the 1800s when Nietzsche said it, because they didn't have earbuds. So people that were just dancing to the music and the other people couldn't hear it. It's a great metaphor too, though. We could probably use that as a quote on one of these shows.
yeah,
Oh, righty, Rooney. Yeah, a lot of synchronicities with that kind of stuff. And I think I prompted something else I was going to bring up. It'll come back to me if I remember. All right, so let me get this set for the other second
I
part of the
wasn't
Tao
done.
here.
Hold on.
What's that?
Sorry, I wasn't done.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know if you could hear all that, whatever that was. There's a freaking big truck outside, so
Oh, all right. No, we,
that's
we
why I
can't
was
hear it.
muting myself.
Oh,
Sorry. Okay. So you can put it back on that verse real quick, and I'll just if there was anything else to say, I'm trying to remember. He did we read it yet?
oh, yeah,
Oh
my bad. I,
yes.
I
Oh no,
reset. Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, we're he
stronger yet.
he who conquers others is strong, but he who conquers himself is stronger yet. I guess I don't think there was anything else I had to say about that.
All right. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a good thing we checked just to make sure. All right, so I'm going to start by reading the second part of the verses now to break it down. Stephen Mitchell. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. Endure. Um, yeah, I like this because it's so true. It's really about this part's about gratitude, I think. It's really where the gratitude comes in, because it's like if you realize
Absolutely.
you have enough, and this is something that I do if I'm going to sleep, every time I go to sleep, I try to list everything I'm grateful for, instead of having other idle thoughts if I'm not tired, or if I can't fall asleep right away, or anytime I get anxiety or a little nervous, I'm just like, all right, well, this is what I'm thankful for. This is what I have. I might not need this or that. I might see something that's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, I want one of those, but doesn't mean I need it, you know.
Yeah, no, I found that I've become way more grateful like in the last several years. Um, and I feel like every day I'm grateful. I'm just like constantly throughout the day. Like I remember when I labeled myself a Christian back in the day, and I was going to I started to go to that one church like in 2017, and it was just a regular, Bible church type thing. It was n no really denomination or anything. But I felt they were just a little bit self-righteous, Um, and I was, because I was taking these classes. Sorry, I'm taking forever to say this. I'm just trying to get my thoughts together here. Um, but I was taking these classes with these other people, these ladies, mostly it was like a ladies class, and it was almost like a veneer of like, we need to be like humble and we need to be XYZ and we, you know, we need to be like this and we need to be like that. And it was weird because they would ask you like to do homework and like read these verses and then what are your XYZ and what do you do here and what is this here? And I felt like it was very like some of them were very like personal, very like um but almost to the point where it was like judgmental. You know what I mean? If you're not doing a certain thing a certain way, you know, and like I just felt like my heart was pure and like I didn't when I was answering these questions, I'm just like I pray all the time. Like, I'm constantly praying to God in my head all day. Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm not saying it to be like self-righteous or anything, but I'm like what is it you people freaking want? Like I'm like I I I don't even know. It was just so bizarre. Like it just felt I don't even know why I'm saying it just felt really odd and really weird. And why was I saying that? What did we just read? What did you say?
Oh, we were talking about gratitude, being grateful for
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, so like in that sense I was like always, like I was always praying, I was always talking to God and like I find myself now the way I talk to God is I'm grateful. Like maybe back then it wasn't so much of the gratitude, there was more like more questions or more like, why is my life like this right now? Or please help me because I'm lost. I'm confused about this. you know, but now more when I talk to God, it's like, I'm just so grateful. I'm just so thankful for all these things, for everything. Like, even if things appear to be odd or weird or not comfortable for me, I have to be grateful for that because I don't know what's beyond that. I know that there's a plan. And so I'm just excited to see what's on the other side. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, I think gratitude is huge because even if you don't have the point of view that we have and you're like thinking God or source or whatever you guys want to call it, Buddha or Krishna or whatever, um, you could point at it even in like a scientific way. You can use scientism to get there, where you could say, well, if you spent your time thinking about what you were grateful for instead of being worried about not having enough, you could plot out how your life could actually get better, because then you could get in more of a positive mind space. Maybe you become more creative. Maybe you're just open to more opportunities. Maybe you're a little more optimistic and you're around people, and some people like to be around you, and you could meet other people who give you fabulous opportunities because they like your optimism. I mean, there's so many ways to look at this. It's not even like just because I sit home at night and I'm like, thank you, God. God's up there and he just makes good things happen for me. Like I don't feel like that's how it works at all. I think it's you put yourself on that path. And if gratitude is your base, it's like your foundation, then you could build that thing as high as you want. So that's another reason why I think gratitude is huge. You can even talk to an atheist who doesn't believe that after we die we're just gone, and you could say to him, well, yeah, but you could still see how gratitude, just be grateful to whoever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. To
Indeed.
yourself, you can even say, I'm grateful to myself that I was able to accomplish
Yes.
these things, that I was able to get a
Mm-hmm.
car or some nice clothes or a computer or a cell phone or whatever the heck it is. Because 200 years ago, man, people, if they had a question, they'd have to like look in a book, they'd have to ask somebody else. Now you could just put it into a search engine or whatever. Like how many tablespoons are in a quart? I mean, I need to know these things.
Um,
But yeah,
so I
um,
don't know what Zeralath's talking about, but he said monsters are exempt from tolerance and forgiveness, only justice and revenge. I don't know. What did Jesus do? Were the people who were trying to kill him on that cross, were they monsters? I mean, who would kill an innocent man? Who would do that and like want them? I can't remember. I think it was Aaron Abkey last night when
fuck
I was
you.
watching that. Okay, then. I don't know why you watch our show. We're constantly
Jesus.
talking about Jesus. I
Well,
know.
that's fine too. I
But
mean,
yesterday when Aaron Abkey was being interviewed, I think he talked about that, about um the forgiveness and the love, that it doesn't have to be him. It could have been anybody. Whoever showed this amount of love for somebody who was about to hurt them and kill them. Like, why? Because in this realm, all we're doing is living this experience. We're going to go back to source. So, does it matter how you go? No. All you're doing is going back to source. Why fear it? Why does it matter how you go? Why does it matter if you just go to sleep and that's how you die, or if somebody kills you? That's what you were meant to experience. Whatever it was you were meant to experience.
yeah,
Anyway.
no, 100%. I feel like life could be filled with pain for people. And yeah, there's going to be some pain when you die, but it's not like we're strangers to pain. Everyone's felt pain. And I feel like anytime, I learned this when I was in the Marines. It's another thing I'm really grateful for. I try to look back on my time in the Marines, all the positive things that happened, and to be grateful. And one of them is I really learned how to focus and kind of turn off pain, because we went on these like 12-mile or 10-mile, we call them humps. We're going on a hump. It's like a hike with your full pack, camouflage boots and all this stuff, like your full thing, a rifle and everything. And we just go on these marches, and it ended up being like running most of the time, because especially for the people in the back, because they'd have to catch up because people in the front would be going. They usually put the tall people in the front, which is good. So I mostly didn't have to experience this, but a couple times they switched around, because we would usually march everywhere. They'd line us up in height order. That's our order that we had established when we first got to boot camp, basically when we'd get into a formation. And so I was always in the front of my line. And so they would turn it around though sometimes, and we'd do it backwards, and all the short guys would be up front. So what would happen, we'd go for a while, and then people would start to like stretch out, kind of, like the person in front of you would get a little more farther away, and then it would go all the way down the line. And then the drill instructor would be like, all right, tighten it up. So the people, like when I was in the front, I'd have to take like maybe one or two steps to get up to the guy in front of me. But the people in the back had to like run to catch up. So it was brutal. And the packs aren't like the great packs that we have today with, the technology that we have. It was just a normal backpack full of all kinds of gear. So it would hurt after a while. And I realized that I could sit there and focus on the pain. Like every time I took a step, I could feel it in my shoulders. But then something happened to me where I'm like, I could just turn it off or not focus on it. And I feel like that's how life is, because pain is really just a message. And if you receive that message, you don't freak out about it. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of ways that you can have some kind of pain where it's insane and you wouldn't be able to do this. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm the best. I could just, throw acid in my eyes. I'll be fine. But for most pain, I feel like you could focus and meditate or whatever it is to get through it. Because like I said, it really is just a signal in our minds. And I feel like pain, emotional pain is the same thing. It's signals that
Mm-hmm.
we get because of what happened to us or things that are happening currently around us. Just like anger is like a meter. If you're around people and you're getting anger, especially if you're getting angry in a righteous way. Oh, we watched Anger Management last night, by the way, with Adam Sandler.
Oh,
Have you
that's
ever seen
right.
that? And Jack
Yes, a
Nicholson?
long time ago, but yeah,
I watched it again with new eyes. Wow.
I
Like
need
the
to watch
whole,
it again with new eyes because the first time I
it
watched
was
it, I was
funny.
so annoyed
Yeah.
with um not Adam Sandler, with
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
But
You
at the
do.
same time, even though I was annoyed, I I recognized in some way that if this guy Adam Sandler really didn't need anger management, then he wouldn't behave the way he did. Like he does clearly have some anger situations going on if he still
Yeah.
gets that angry about nonsensical silly stuff, you know? So,
And Jack Nicholson, well, his character nails it in the beginning when he tells them about the two different kinds of angry people that there are. And Adam Sandler falls in really with the nice guy thing, where we've talked about this before, where people, a lot of men, especially when they're young, they learn to hide their own needs and they learn to take care of other people's needs so they can kind of fit in,
mhm.
especially when they're children, right? You do this. And then a lot of men carry this into adulthood where they'll just be nice, 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 nice. And then all of a sudden they just get to a point and they explode and everything comes out. And I feel like that's exactly what Adam Sandler was doing. He's really indecisive and he didn't want to he had this amazing girlfriend and he didn't want to take one step further and all this stuff. So I don't want to give too much of the movie away because it is a pretty good movie. There's not like any violence or anything really, and it's funny. So yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say, but with the new eyes thing, it's crazy where you see it everywhere. And I think I didn't feel as bad for Adam Sandler when I watched it this time. I was like, oh, I mean, of course it's ridiculous in some of the situations where he gets in, but yeah, that's the thing about anger. And oh, that's what I was saying before. So before we even started talking about anger management, anger is just a gauge. It's like a temperature gauge to see how it is
Mhm.
outside. So if people are acting around you in a certain way and they're making you angry, and you look at it and you say, wait, did I do something to put myself in this situation where I'm causing this? You're like, all right, no, this person's actually being mean and breaking my stuff. And, I have to set boundaries.
Mhm.
So that's where anger, just like pain, is message, and it could be used. So, and the reason I
Mhm.
talk about all that was because of death, right? Everyone fears there might be a lot of pain when you die, but we don't really know, right? And when you get out of it, you might just be like, oh shit, that was nothing, or who
Yeah,
knows, you could merge back in, and it's just like,
it
whoa, man.
it's funny you saying that because I was thinking about this past week about like in death as you're dying or whatever. And I've thought about this before too, but um you know, you don't know how it's going to be even if someone does come at you and tries to harm you, because in the Bible Stephen was stoned to death, and he was just looking up at the angels and going, "Oh my gosh, you guys, look at the heavenly host, this beautiful angelic host of um heavenly bodies who are just like waiting for me." And he wasn't even in pain because otherwise he would have been screaming. But he was like, he's like, I'm ready for the other side. I'm ready to be merging with source. And, you know, could it be that, you'll be spared of any pain because of, for whatever reason, you'll be spared of pain upon something like that happening to you. I hear stories like that all the time of people with near death experiences who like either they die for a little bit, like they're dead for 30 minutes or they're dead for hours, and then they come back. And some of them are like even a drowning situation where they don't feel anything at all. They don't feel like they're drowning. They don't have any like uh horrible feelings. They just go and they're in another place already. Like their whatever their spirit goes to the other side already without experiencing pain. So it's like you never know how it's going to happen. So why not trust the plan?
You do never know. And if all else fails, you could just remember the old adage. I think we're skipping again. The old adage, pain is just weakness leaving the body. So
Hmm. All right,
that's
where
what they
were
used to
we?
say in the Marine Corps. All right, we were covering la 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 la.
Oh,
Oops, I
oh,
just
did you read the Stephen Mitchell, if you realize you have enough, you're truly rich? Yes, absolutely. I've been contemplating that for some time now about just like being content that, with what we have, what you have, I have enough. I have no need of anything. And yes, I do sometimes get things that I want and things that I like, but um I have everything I need and I'm super grateful. It's a blessing and I'm grateful.
100%.
And
All
there's
right.
the embracing death with your whole heart. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, they even talk about that. I know Ram Dass talked about this in Hinduism when they talk about death, and he talked about being with people as they died and just being fully conscious with them and just remaining here in the
Mm-hmm.
moment as you die. And there, he talked about the different gates that you can leave the body. The spirit can leave the body through different gates, and if you stay focused, you
Mm.
can leave through the head, through the crown, and that's like
Oh,
the best way to do it, or
interesting.
whatever, you know. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So it's all about fear. And if you guys want to know more about fear, check out our episode we did with Nick about that a couple episodes ago. Was that 93?
Let's see. I think it was yes. It was 93. Good memory.
Yeah, go check that out, everybody. I actually just sent that to a friend of mine. I'll stop this for a minute. I had a friend hit me up. He's not really into spirituality or anything, but he sees, that I'm like a wizard. And he
Mhm.
knew me before. I've known this guy forever. And he's like, around a full moon, he's like, I always kind of get depressed or like whatever, all these feelings come up. And he asked me if I knew anything about it or if we could do something or if there's anything he could take. I was like, well, I just told him about the symbolism of the full moon, how during a full moon, everything that's dark is lit up. So it's like the stuff that's usually hidden comes to light. And
Mm.
then I sent him our episode on fear. So hopefully he watches it or some of it, maybe we can get something out of that. And everybody that's watching this, if you haven't watched that episode, go check it out because I started watching again. I watched about half an hour or 45 minutes of it.
Mm.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Sometimes as a test run or as a day after, I'll just listen to it on like um I was gonna say Spotify, but either Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music, just to recap.
Yeah, it's good. People don't realize like when you're actually doing the live stream or the recording, a lot of times you don't pick up everything because you might be
Yeah,
thinking about something else or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I definitely do that.
Me as well. All right. I don't want to say me too. Okay, so we're gonna start reading the second part of verse 33. If you realize that I read this, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's my
Okay.
turn to read.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Dwight Goddard, verse 33. He who appreciates contentment is wealthy. He who dares to act has nerve. If he can maintain his position, he will endure. But he who dying does not perish is immortal. So, yeah, it's very similar to what Stephen Mitchell said about, again, we said gratitude, but yes, I
And
said
here
being content.
the one main difference though that I see is that he says act. He who dares to act has nerve, which is great because action is what it's all about, right? Like that's where the new age gets it wrong because they don't talk
Mhm.
about the action that you have to take. So I like that he put that in there, the act.
Fire, wands.
That's right. Take that fire out.
He can maintain his position, and then Stephen Mitchell says staying at the center. You can endure, and
Yeah,
then
so
he
that's
who,
pretty.
yeah, he who dying does not perish is immortal. There, yeah, I think we said this when I first read it the first time through, but yeah, dying, ego death is so you're not dying in this realm necessarily, but your ego is no longer the main thing.
It's not the pilot anymore. It's just
Yes.
I like to say the ego is just another tool in the tool belt. Sometimes you do need that ego.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it works for that, and it does work for physical death as well, as above, so below, right? So your ego death. So a lot of people fear that they don't want to lose who they are, or they have this
Mm-hmm.
idea of themselves of who they are, and they're afraid if they let that go, then they won't be the same, or who knows what's after that, what's going to happen. Then the dark night of the soul happens. They come out of it, and they're like, "Wow, this is great." Death, physical death, right? Same thing. Somebody dies. Who knows what happens after? But if you use the as above, so below
You're
principle,
not really dead.
yeah,
You just
you're immortal.
return to
You'll
source.
still die, but something about you, your
It's
energy, your life
you're
force.
immortal. So
Yep.
we are immortal. It's only in this lifetime that we experience mortality. This, I
There's
should
a
say,
part
this
of us that's
3D,
immortal.
yeah, the 3D realm, this body, this physical experience is mortal.
That's right. 3. All right, let's. I'm going to bring this back up so we can go down now and read. I'll read the Stan Rosenthal, the second part of verse 33 by Stan Rosenthal. He who has many material things may be described as rich, but he who knows he has enough and is at one with the Tao might have enough of material things and have self being as well. So it's pretty much saying the same thing that they said in the last two verses, but he's here telling you that you can have it both, which is very Tao, right? Taoish, by saying, listen, you can have material things and you can be at one with the Tao. It's just
That's
about,
right.
it's not that material things are bad,
Right, exactly.
right? And okay, and have self being as well, and then willpower may bring perseverance, but to have tranquility is to endure. Being protected, okay, so we can even look at these two lines. Willpower may bring perseverance, but to have tranquility is to endure. So they're talking about the balance, right? The will to go out and
The
do action,
action. Hmm.
but also to be able to be at rest and peace. Very Taoish. I mean, very Tao,
Way Wu Wei.
Wei Wu
Doing, not
Wei.
doing.
Exactly. And then he goes on to say, being protected for all his days, being protected for all his days. He whose ideas remain in the world is present for all time. Now that's a little.
That is an interesting one.
He whose ideas remain in the world is present for all time.
Well, when your ideas are the ideas of God, could it be?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, maybe you can also, I'm just going to bring it up so I can look at it. Everyone else can look at our beautiful faces. He whose ideas remain in the world is present for all time. So maybe if it's talking about like focusing on the present moment in the here and now, in the world, he whose ideas remain in the world is present for all time instead of being other places. I don't know. Does anyone else have any ideas? Hey, listen, if you're watching this in the future, leave a comment at what you think this means exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, everyone else says, maybe we'll get a little clarity when you cover the Aleister Crowley. Yeah, let's do that. go to the Aleister Crowley one
Okay.
and then Crowley, and see if we could piece it out a little better, because I think I might see something there that's going to help me. All right.
Contentment is riches, and continuous action is will. He who adapts himself perfectly to his environment continues for long. He who dies without dying lives forever. So I think it's in that part where he says, he who adapts himself perfectly to his environment. Maybe that's he's whose ideas remain in the world. Maybe that's
Yeah. Yeah.
um
I think so. It's very similar.
so yeah, so maybe like you said, it's if you stay in the present moment. Maybe that's what it's about.
Yeah, because well, if you look at it as perfectly to his environment,
Then
right?
you're immortal. Go ahead.
And then this per and Stan Rosenthal, getting back to here, I'm still sharing, right? Okay, he says he whose ideas remain in the world. So this word world is kind of what
Mm-hmm.
they're saying here when Aleister Crowley says
Environment.
environment, right? Same thing, but he's just saying adapt himself. But this guy says his ideas remain in this world or in the world. It's
Mm-hmm.
like your imagination isn't like off in Never Never Land in the some future worry or past regret.
Yeah.
You know, you're here in the here and now. You're adapted.
Stephen Mitchell says if you stay in the center. And Dwight Goddard says if he can maintain his position.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why like we say this at probably every episode, but it's so good that you get the four different ones to cross
Mm-hmm.
reference.
Yeah. Blue Kachina says ideas last longer than a man's life. That is indeed true.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's another one to think about. Good job, Blue. You're my boy, Blue.
Yeah. So, but yes, otherwise, saying pretty much the same
Oh,
thing. I mean, he does say contentment is riches.
which
So he
that kind of
doesn't,
reminds me of. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say that kind of it reminds me of what um he who has many material things, so it's really in line with that. But the continuous action is will. That's a little different.
I think the contentment in riches, sorry, contentment is riches is again, he can be vague sometimes, as mystical as he is. Um, but like the way the other guys say it or translate it, I should say, um, it makes sense because we understand that he doesn't mean like you'll be happy just because you're wealthy. That's clearly
Yeah,
not what he means. That's clearly not what he means.
and I think he's showing this again the way Wu Wei with contentment and will. So contentment is like a place of rest, and will and action is when you're in action. So it's kind of the
Mm,
same thing, also.
mm-hmm.
Nice. Good job, Alistair.
Indeed. Are we
All right.
ready for the next verse?
I think we are. Verse 34. Yay. 33 is done. So crazy. All right. Stephen Mitchell, verse 34 from 1988. The great Tao flows everywhere. All things are born from it, and yet it doesn't create them. It pours itself into its work, yet it makes no claim. It nourishes infinite worlds, yet it doesn't hold on to them. Since it is merged with all things and hidden in their hearts, it can be called humble. Since all things vanish into it, and it alone endures, it can be called great. It isn't aware of its greatness, thus, it is truly great.
And Dwight Goddard entitles us The Perfection of Trust. Great Tao is all pervading. It can be on both the right hand and the left. Everything relies upon it for their existence, and it does not fail them. It acquires merit, but covets not that title or the title. It lovingly nourishes everything, but does not claim the rights of ownership. Ooh. It has no desires. It can be classed with the small. Everything returns to it, yet it does not claim the right of ownership. It can be classed with the great. Therefore, the wise man to the end will not pose as a great man. And by so doing will express his true greatness. Wow. I really like that one. It was almost like Aleister Crowley like a little bit.
Yeah, very reminiscent. All right. I wonder if Alistair was influenced by it, that version. Okay, Stan Rosenthal, without contriving. This is verse 34. All things may act without exclusion, according to the natural way, which fulfills its purpose silently and with no claim. Being an aspect of natural order, it is not the ruler of anything, but remains the source of their nourishment. It cannot be seen, it has no intention, but all natural things rely on its presence. When all things return to it, it does not enslave them. So unmanifested, its greatness prevails. Modeling himself upon the Tao, he who is wise does not contrive, but is content with what he achieves.
All
Oh,
right,
I didn't highlight it
Alice.
again.
Oh,
I'm only highlighting
yeah,
it. Well,
only
people get it.
highlighting mine.
This is the one we read, everyone. And now we're going to read this one. Or Sharon's going to read it.
Aleister Crowley, The Method of Attainment. The Tao is immanent. It extendeth to the right hand as to the left. All things derive from it their being. It creates them, and all comply with it. Its work is done, and it proclaims it not. It is the ornament of all things, yet it claims not fief of them. There is nothing so small that it inhabiteth. There is nothing so small that it inhabits not and informs it. All things return without knowledge to the cause thereof. There is nothing so great that it inhabits not and informs it. In this manner also may the sage perform his works. It is by not thrusting himself forward that he wins to his success.
Mm. I like fief. That's a very good Dune word.
Yes, there's it's so funny because maybe I read through this so quickly I don't even remember reading that. Um, and I remembered that we were going to look up that word vivica, and I did, but we never talked about it. I forgot. So
Oh, well, we
we'll
could talk
just
about it now if you want. I could also
um
just explain what fief is unless you already have it.
yes, go ahead.
Fief, you can have like a fiefdom. It's just like a kingdom. It's basically any lord that has domain over a bunch of peasants or whatever, or even if they're not peasants, maybe or whatever they're doing, but it's a ruler. That's what he calls it, his fief, his fiefdom. So
I'll
by
read.
saying claim no fief, we can talk about this when we break it down. But by it says claimeth the not fief of them, it means he's not trying to say he's their ruler or whatever or controls them.
Yeah, I'll just read what dictionary.com says. A fee or feud held of a feudal lord, a tenure of land subject to feudal obligations. And then another definition is a territory held in fee. So there you go.
Fiefdom, yeah. Paul Atreides and his fief. The
Nice.
Atreides fief on Caladan. All right, enough. Caladan. All right, so I'll bring
All
these
right.
back up. Oh, you're gonna read the definition of the other. You want to read the definition of Vivica?
Yeah, if you do you want to go back to it just
Yeah,
quickly?
sure.
I think it was at verse 33 from Aleister Crowley. I'll just quickly the discrimination vivica of day. So it's not really so much a definition as it came up on some wiki. Is it Wikipedia? Yeah, it's Wikipedia. It's a Sanskrit and Pali term translated into English as discernment or discrimination learning. So there you go. It
There we
just
go.
means discernment or discrimination. And so Aleister Crowley says the discrimination of day. And then if you scroll up, um, Dwight Goddard says the virtue or the day of discrimination. So the virtue of, what was the other definition?
Vivica.
Discernment. So the
Yeah.
virtue of discernment, that makes more sense to me. The virtue of discernment and then the discernment of virtue.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Or the day of Vivica and the Vivica of day.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
If you really want to get esoteric on their butts. All right, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, back to verse 34, Aleister Crowley. Oh, did I finished reading that for the first time? Or did
Um,
yes, I
the
did. So I think
yes.
we're sorry. So we're back to Stephen Mitchell first part.
Oh, we did we read
I think we read did I read the whole thing?
I read the Stan Rosenthal version. Yes.
Yeah, we
That was
read all of
Oh
them,
yeah,
I
you
think.
did read Fief, yes, because I waited till you were done. Yes, yes. Once again, Sharon is right.
No, I sometimes I forget too, so.
Oh no, I didn't mean it in a rude way. I meant like Brandon's over here, like, wait, what do we do? And Sharon's like, got this. All right. So yeah, so you were right. Stephen Mitchell, first part. We're gonna break it down. The great Tao flows everywhere. Oh, look, I remembered to highlight it. Oops. All things are born from it, yet it doesn't create them. It pours itself into its work, yet it makes no claim. So this first part here, the great Tao flows everywhere. All things are born from it, yet it doesn't create them. So they're not trying to say that Tao is God, right? Um, which is good because you're not supposed to worship or put it on a pedestal, right? You're not supposed
Mm-hmm.
to worship God. It doesn't create everything. This is just the source which it flows from, like a spring in a river. But I think maybe we'll get a little more clarity as we go on with the other verses. It pours itself into its work, yet it makes no claim. So again, here we go with the claims. So it's really hard working, but it's not bragging about it. It's not like, look at what I do,
Mm-hmm.
look what I can do. This is what I do. It just does its job. It nourishes infinite worlds, yet it doesn't hold on to them. There we go. There's your attachment, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, oops, if you have like a pet or a child or a project or something you're trying to create, you're creating it, you're nourishing it and everything, but you aren't attached to it. Is basically what I see. And again, with a child, of course, you're going to love it and be attached to it, but we're talking about like an unhealthy attachment. Like you're not going to make your kid go be a scientist or play football if they don't want to. Something like that. All right,
Yes.
bring this up.
All right.
The
Dwight
perfection.
Goddard, verse 34, first half, entitled The Perfection of Trust. Great Tao is all pervading. It can be on both the right hand and the left. Everything relies upon it for their existence, and it does not fail them. It acquires merit but covets not the title. It lovingly nourishes everything, but it does not claim the rights of ownership. It has no desires. It can be classed with the small. And that is I really like that. It can be on both the right and the left. On the right hand and the left. Stephen Mitchell says it flows everywhere and all things are born from it. That be on the right and the left is different from some of the other verses. What do you think?
I was just finishing up a yawn. Yeah, I like that because reminds me of what we talked about. Was it last week with the right hand of the Father? Like
Oh,
the
yes,
right
that's
hand is
right.
the war, the left hand's the peace, all that
Oh,
stuff.
that's
So this
right.
is
Yeah.
saying both war, peace,
Ooh, good
right, left,
call.
up, down, everything has
Yeah.
to do with the Tao, which is really kind of another way of saying that everything's perfect.
Yes, yes. And it makes me think of like we've talked before with certain guests about the left-hand path and the right-hand path. And it's just like whatever your path, whether it's the left-hand path or the right-hand path, that's your journey. Like God, the Tao, is not going to judge you for it. That's, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just is what it is.
Yeah, well
Um,
said.
and like you said, the whole like not being arrogant about things, everything relies upon it and doesn't fail them and acquires merit, but doesn't covet the title. It's humble. Um, Lovingly nourishes everything, but doesn't claim the rights of ownership. So it doesn't boast. And that reminds me of the in the Bible, love is patient, love is kind, the Corinthians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, good call.
it's not boastful. Um, let's see, it has no desires. So this is interesting. It has no desires. It can be classed with the small. Um, so when you're raised a Christian and stuff, you hear a lot of like, oh, God wants you to do this and God wants this. Apparently, no. God has no desires. The Tao does not have a desire. I think the
Yeah,
Tao just doesn't even want, it just lets you be.
and I love how he says it could be classed with the small. That kind of reminds me of like just looking out this window here at the trees in the forest. Everything that happens in the world in nature, just the little processes, the trees, letting their leaves down, the seasons changing. People usually don't really focus on that as much. It's kind of like a background thing that happens. So it's like the small. It could be classed with the small. Everything that the Tao does in the world, it's kind of just like a background program.
And
Like
it's
a
humble
operating
enough
system.
that it doesn't mind being small. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't
it
mind
doesn't
if
mind
you,
being classed with it. Exactly. It
yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be worshipped or anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I like that.
All right. I'm going to bring this up so I can read the first part of this other verse. All righty. So we're going to go down to Stan Rosenthal. All things may act without exclusion according to the natural way. There you go. All things may act without exclusion according to the natural way, which fulfills its purpose silently and with no claim. So this really again is talking about kind of like, doing it till you're done. You can act without exclusion any way that it's supposed to act according to the natural way. And it, but when it's referring specifically to the Tao, it says this part right here, which I didn't highlight it again. Fulfills its purpose silently and with no claim. That reminds me a lot of what we heard in the other verses. Being an aspect of natural order, it is not the ruler of anything. So right here, right, it's just an aspect of what it is. It's just something
Mm-hmm.
that's going on. It's not the ruler. It's just a uh I can't the words are failing me. It's a condition of the natural order, I guess you could say. But remains the source of their nourishment. It cannot be seen. It has no intention, but all natural things rely on its presence. It really feels like the last two verses, kind of the same thing, just said in a different way, maybe a little more succinctly.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have intention, then it doesn't have desires or anything like that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And the
Dude,
unseen,
I love that.
yeah, Thank you. Do you have anything you want to say,
I
or do you want?
I just I mean, maybe once I read the Aleister one.
Yeah, it's always so much better to compare them.
All right,
Or,
so verse 34, the first half of Aleister Crowley's version. The method of attainment. And Stan Rosenthal calls it without contriving. Interesting. Okay. The Tao is immanent, and immanent means remaining within, indwelling, inherent. All right. It's not immanent as in IMMINENT. I think that's a different word. I think, yeah, I'll look it up. But anyway, the Tao is inherent. So it's immanent, it's inherent. It extends to the right hand as to the left. So see, he says it like Dwight Goddard. And
Mhm.
he says it extends. Interesting. All things derive. Hold on, let me just see what Dwight Goddard says. He could says it can be both on the right and the left. Okay. Yeah.
There.
The
All right.
perfection of trust without contriving a method of attainment. Yeah. I like Dwight Goddard calling it the perfection of trust. That's awesome. Okay, let's see. All things derive from it their being. Yes, we do. We are of the source. It createth them and all comply with it. Its work is done and it proclaims it not. It is the ornament of all things, yet it claims not fief of them. There's no, sorry, there's nothing so small that it, I'm just going to say that it does not inhabit it or inform it, because that sounds a little more easy to understand.
A little more English is regular
Yeah,
modern
more
English.
modern English.
Modern.
So,
Isn't that a
yeah,
group?
all things derive from it their being. Yes, it creates them and all comply with it. And there you go, all comply with it. So when people are like, these people are being evil or these people are being XYZ, and well, all things comply with it. They're acting within the realm that was created. They're acting within the rules provided. And the rules are that you have your own free will, and so does everyone else. Um, let's see, what
And I
else do you
feel like when
say?
people say that other people's behavior isn't alignment, isn't okay, I'll say it this way. When other people's behavior is out of alignment with God, or like they shouldn't be doing this. What this verse is telling you, like you said, is they're all complying. So I feel like a person who says that, who's making judgments and saying that person is out of alignment with God and all this stuff, they're actually doing worse. It's kind of like blasphemy at the end of the day, because that person is really saying that, God's plan is wrong. God doesn't know what's right, or whatever, or the Tao, or Buddha. But
It's
yeah,
like that. It's like that. Whenever you would tell people that everything's perfect, it's the story you tell them. Well, like when you meet people, what do you tell them again? You tell me your story again.
about what, the world being perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So you ask them a question.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, I'm like, is God perfect? Yeah. Did he create the world? Yeah. Well, then the world's got to be perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah. Something like, is did he create it perfect? Perfect?
Yeah, like you agree God's perfect, right? Yep. He created the world, right? Yep. Well, then the
Did he
world's
create
got
it
to be perfect.
perfectly and it's perfect? Yes. Okay, so where's your question?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, yep.
So it by blaming other people and all this stuff, you're really getting mad at God then, right?
yep.
Could it be?
If you were to look at it through a Taoist lens, or, not even just Tao, but anybody who kind of looks at the world the way we do, yes. I keep clearing my screen with this swipe gesture
I
because
know
I'm doing.
I do that sometimes. I'm like,
how do you get it back? I just click on the
Which corner did you
oh, it's
use?
in a corner. I
Yeah, it
don't know.
might be top right. I do top right sometimes, or like top left.
Oh, there it is, top right. Oh, thank you. There's a little
Yeah,
it was hidden from me.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's go back to
Max.
yeah, Max, exactly.
All right.
Uh,
But does
so
not claim, yeah, it nourishes everything, does not claim the rights of ownership. Oh, wait, where are we at? I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. It claims not, it's ornament of all things, yet it claims not fief of them. Oh, I like an ornament of all things. Interesting.
so
Huh.
it complements, right? Everything you could kind of say, maybe it complements them or it goes along with everything, but it doesn't claim control over everything.
Yeah. See? And that's how you can explain people who are doing their own will, right? People who are um choosing their quote free will. Well, it's allowed, you know? He's not God is not controlling them.
Could it be that that's what this realm is all about?
Yeah.
Could it be that the physical realm is somewhere where you go to experience everything to your heart's desire, and then you do something so much and you realize it's despicable and detestable all on your own, and you have to get sick of it and stop and make the conscious free will choice on your own, not because you're
Mhm.
going to go to hell or have some kind of punishment, but because you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And
I
not
maybe I don't
because
know.
you're trying to please someone, a parent or a sibling or a partner or even God. Because remember, God doesn't want anything,
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't even want you to be anything. He just gives you free will. That's all.
That's right. According to Aleister Crowley, anyway. No,
Was it that one?
no.
I don't
It's
remember.
just according to the Tao, but since he did his own
Dwight
version,
Goddard says it has no desires.
yeah. Well, yeah. According to him too. I just
Um,
wanted to say Aleister
yeah.
Crowley too, trying to get
There is
trigger people.
nothing so small that it does not inhabit it or inform it, right? It is part of everything. Um, the small from the great to the small. In the next verse, we'll talk about the great part. It'll say this verse almost exactly, but it'll say with the not so great. All right.
What's up, Joe? I'm just saying hi to him in the chat. Yeah, we started a little early today, Joe. Trying to get a little more use out of the day. Um, and let's see. Okay, so you want to read the second part now of the verses, or were you?
Yeah, I think we're ready for part 2, verse 34.
Oops, too much. All right. So part two of verse 34, the Stephen Mitchell version. Since it is merged with all things and hidden in their hearts, it can be called humble. Since all things vanish into it and it alone endures, it can be called great. So take the first part, since it is merged with all things and hidden in their hearts, it can be called humble. So it doesn't really make sense if you think about it, just reading it on the face of it. Um, but I feel like it's because it's hidden in their hearts is the reason why they're calling it humble, because the true purpose, your true dharma can be said to be hidden in your heart, and you're just not listening to your heart, you're listening to your ego or whatever. So the true purpose is there, that's the Tao, but it's not, it's humble because it's not out there exclaiming to everybody, I know the way, this is the way, you got to just, it's just written inside your heart, hidden
It
there for you
yeah,
to.
like it reminds me of how, like, when I was growing up, I'd hear in the Bible, right? I mean, hear from the ministers preaching, whatever, like Jesus is humble, or God is humble. He's not gonna um like shout at you and like get mad at you for not, believing, or for not, doing what you should be doing. He waits for you Yeah, he knocks on the door of your heart or whatever, as people say, but he waits for you, for your action, right? So, and that reminded me of that. That's a good call.
Yeah, I
I'm
like
glad you
that.
said that.
The knocking the door, knocking on your heart is also similar to kind of like hidden in your heart because it's just like a light knocking. You hear it, you can follow it if you want, or you could keep following your ego, which I think it's funny because Sharon and I aren't saying that we just destroyed our egos and we're perfect and we never follow that. I think this is a thing where, I mean, maybe you can get to a point where you're not worried about it, but this is like why you want to be focused in the present moment. And the reason why you want to be in the present moment is so you can make these decisions about how you feel about things that happen to you. So you just don't automatically go into a spiral and, reach for booze or a cigarette or porn or whatever the heck it is. You have that clarity in the present moment because you're focused in the present moment. And then you could choose to follow your heart in a different situation. And it's not always going to be that way. We're, especially in this society, we've had a lot of trauma. All of us, we have a lot of cycles and different things that we're looking to break through and to heal or go to the next level. And I feel like this is the key to it, really. The key to following your heart is to just be in the present moment and listen when you can. And if something happens, just try to remain in the present moment. Like if you get into a car accident, don't be like, oh, how am I going to get to work now? Or how am I going to buy this? Or how? No, just stay like in the present moment. What can this teach me? Where can I go from here? What do I have to do right now? I'm not a victim. These are all really important self-talk things to repeat over in your mind when things happen.
Hmm.
I found out anyway. So yeah. I just
Yeah.
like to say that because I feel like if people are just clicking in and they're listening to like, oh, what do these people think they have it all figured out? Well, maybe that's why it's the best darn show on the internet. But
But maybe we're also preaching to ourselves.
yeah, we are
We
totally.
preach to
And,
the choir.
and I feel like a lot of people who are doing this work are preaching to themselves. They're just not conscious of it. At least we know. So like you said, you like to go back and listen. Same thing when I go back and listen, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good concept, but how can I get it into my life? It's not enough that I know of the concept. I have to get a true knowing, right? It's not enough that I'm
Right.
aware of it. I have to get the knowing, which is
Yeah.
experience. So yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, I mean, this is kind of a silly analogy and maybe it's not a good one, but
No, I love
it's
it.
like kind of knowing that you like, let's say your dishes are a mess, your kitchen's a mess, and like knowing you need to clean the kitchen is not enough. You just have to figure out where to start and how to do it and, get your little plan together. But, the knowing it isn't quite enough.
Awareness, right? The awareness of it.
Yeah. But it helps.
Because
The awareness is the first step.
awareness is the first step. And the reason I said awareness instead of knowing is because we like we always use the term, or we've uncovered the term knowing at where it's an experience that you have, like Adam knew Eve. You get it,
Yeah.
like when they were making Cain and Abel, they had to know each other. You know what I mean? So when you're aware of something, it doesn't mean you actually know it. Like you could become aware of meditation, right? But unless you put in the practice and do it, then it's when you get the true knowing,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So but yeah, I just like to iterate that and repeat it because I feel like it's really important.
Yeah.
Because the words are, we talk about this all the time, but our words just have so many different meanings. And you could say one thing and another person could say the exact same words, but just say it in a different way and have different meanings for those words. So all right,
Yeah.
that's like one of the staples of the oversharing. Maybe we should get a few of them, like our little uh like the 10 oversharing commandments.
But
We
maybe
really want to
not
introduce
commandments, but more like
I just
another
had to
word.
say it.
Yeah, I know.
And of course we'd have 11,
Oh, good call.
because it's overturned. Well, one more. All right, here we go. So, the second part of the second part. Since all things vanish into it, and it alone endures, it can be called great. It isn't aware of its greatness, thus it is truly great. And there's that word awareness, and that's what it is, right? It's not worried about being great. It's not doing things to be great. It's doing things because that's its job. That's the dharma. You got to do like Futurama. You got to do what you got to do. That's the in Futurama. If you've ever seen that, they have it takes place 1,000 years in the future. It's a cartoon like The Simpsons, but it's about this pizza delivery boy who gets frozen for 1,000 years and wakes up. And the first thing they do is they want to get him a career, so they have to like check his genetics or whatever. They run a test, and the slogan of the career people is "You got to do what you got to do." It's so funny. Um, yeah, that's all it comes down to. But I don't mean like obviously a work or a job. I just mean your dharma, life.
Mm, indeed.
Indeed. So yeah, being aware, it's not aware, it's not bragging, it's not out there going, I'm great. And that's what makes it truly great. All right, let me highlight this for you.
Not that one. The bottom one.
Oh, second part, yeah. See, what would I? Oh,
It's okay.
now I'm
Oh,
highlighting.
too
What's
much.
going on?
Too far. Too far.
I highlighted myself over here. I'm all blue. All right.
Dwight Goddard, verse 34. All right, second half. Everything returns to it, yet it does not claim the right of ownership. It can be classed with the great. Therefore, the wise man to the end will not pose as a great man. And by doing so, or by so doing, will express his true greatness. I really, really like this. So like just like Stephen Mitchell was
Mm.
saying, um, it's merged with all things. This one says everything returns to it. And I think Stephen Mitchell was the only one who said merged. So when I first was looking at how to divvy up this verse, I was looking for something like that. And I was like, oh no, that's not everyone says that. I think everyone else is saying, this concept of returning to source, right? Yet it does not claim the right of ownership. It doesn't say, I'm God and I own you. Now do as I say.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. It really is kind of reiterating also. Oh, I think we're skipping again.
are we?
Um,
It's your end because I don't hear it at
oh,
all.
I heard what you said though. Sometimes it just speeds it up.
Okay.
Yeah, to play it back, which is pretty cool. I mean, I can't. I got to give it to Zoom. People were really giving them a lot of hate when it first came out because they were like, sharing everybody's privacy or whatever. Well, I mean, you got to break a couple eggs before you can make an omelet, right? But I mean, I hope people are like, secretly tapping into these meetings and watching the Oversharing show. That'd be great. Okay, so yeah, I feel like the second part of this verse is kind of going along with the same theme of the where being aware, it's great, but it's not aware of its greatness. Therefore the
Mm-hmm.
wise man till the end will not pose as a great man. So somebody that
Mm-hmm.
is a wise, enlightened, whatever person, they know that they don't want to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of
It reminds you of what?
the ego.
Oh, yes. So, speaking of that little piece that you just read, I was listening to Experiments in Truth by Ram Dass, and he's talking about Maharaji, his guru, and he was telling a story about how when he went out there, he's like, we were me and the other white guy, forgot his name right now. I said it like a week or two ago.
Bhagwan Das.
Bhagwan Das. He's like, we were the only Westerners. Like everyone else was Indian, everyone else. And he's like, but it wasn't like they wanted all these Westerners to be there necessarily because when they went back, they were like, don't tell people about us out here. We don't want people to know where we're at. Because can you imagine thousands of people like trying to go see Maharaji? That would be so ridiculous, right? He didn't want that. But for whatever reason, Bhagwan Das and Ram Das were led to go be there and meet him and encounter him and experience what it was to be like him. And that was it. He didn't want anybody else coming out there to like, be their guru or anything, but he was happy to help Bhagwan Das and Ram Das. So
Yeah, and
it just
it's
reminded me of that.
what you said is really kind of it. Just shows how synchronistic everything is, because Ram Dass, he was a Harvard professor, so he's used to lecturing and speaking in front of people, and so he got really interested in this. So what a better person for Maharaji to teach would be Ram Dass, because then he can get out there and get the message to everybody. And his message was like, my way wasn't your way. He's like, I had a guru, I had Maharaji, but that might not be your way. Like, I just had to have it this way so I could be on a grand scale and share it with all these people, and they can have my message. And it could start kind of like a little bit of a spiritual revolution, if you will, in this country.
A revival.
A revival. We getting crazy tonight. We're gonna be dancing and praising the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
The oversharing revival. All right. Looks like. Oh, what's up, Trish? How's it going? I see her in there. I wasn't really paying attention. What's up, PK? Looks like Zarelath left. He's
After
like, fuck
I
Jesus,
said,
and he was out.
after
Well,
I
we get
said
it,
that,
man.
he
Trust
got
me,
mad, I
Jesus. He
guess.
probably was a bitch.
It's okay. He was upset. Something really upset
I
him.
hope he's still. He
You
loves
hope what?
Zarelath. I said it. No, I said I hope he's still listening. We love Zarelath here at Oversharing Show. Everybody has their own little, listen. Sometimes you got to be
People
like,
have
fuck
their
Jesus, just
moments.
because I look like Jesus, I'm not going to take it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't take it personal, like
No, I know.
personally or whatever, but it's just kind of interesting that we always talk about the benevolence and kindness and love of Jesus, and then that was said. I was kind of like, that doesn't make sense. But
Yeah, well,
okay.
I could see the frustration, because I think the message of Jesus, or the archetype, or whatever you want to say, right? The if he existed or lived, was definitely co-opted by the Romans and by a bunch
Yeah,
of other
yeah,
people. So,
I absolutely understand that. I'm not talking about that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about the concept of this Christ consciousness. Um, and the example that, you know, he quote lived and gave us in the New Testament, which yes, I understand some of that was co-opted too. So I get it, but I take the pieces that are um, you know, that make sense, that resonate.
But just like a gun, you can use it to, hunt for your dinner, or you can use it to rob a bank.
And you can use the Bible for that too, not
Yeah,
for
you could
robbing
rob
a
a bank
bank,
with the
but
Bible. I'm sure you could. Like, this is a bomb. It's a Bible bomb.
oh my God.
Give me all your money, or you're gonna hear the word of God explode. All right.
I
So
almost thought you disappeared. I was like, no,
where did
we're almost done.
all right, so we're down to what, the
Um,
second part of, where were we, Sharon?
um, let's
Dan
see.
Rosenthal?
Yes, I believe. Yes.
The
Second
first
half.
part? Second half.
Second half.
I'm so lost. I'm so in the moment.
I know.
That's my
I do
excuse.
too. I do
When
too.
all things return to it, it does not enslave them. So unmanifested, its greatness prevails. Modeling himself upon the Tao, he who is wise does not contrive, but he who is content with what he does not contrive, but is content with what he achieves.
Ooh, I feel like this is going back to where was the contentment stuff? Was that in verse 33?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the being grateful and being content.
Yeah, I like how when we talked about gratitude in the beginning of the show, so it's perfect. I like, that's another thing about the Tao. Sometimes the verses do complement each other in that way. I mean, a lot of times they do, especially the ones that are right next to each other. I feel like we do that on the show a lot. We reiterate a lot of our core themes and values and ideas and stuff like that. It's just a good way to repeat it, so people could really get a knowing, right? They could be aware of it if you say it once, but if you repeat it a few times, they get the knowing. All right. So
Yeah, let's see. So all things return to it does not enslave them. Mm.
Yep. It's just like the thief part almost.
And like it does not claim the right of ownership, like Dwight Goddard said. It doesn't say I own you and I'm enslaving you. Like this world
Hmm.
is a free world. You have the free will to do what you will. So do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the
Also
world.
reminds me, exactly. It
Another
also
Aleister
reminds
Crowley.
me of, I was watching The Last Unicorn last night, if you are familiar, but this is one of Elizabeth's favorite movies. I haven't seen it yet. It's an animated movie from 1982. It was a book, I guess, and Jeff Bridges is in it. Angela Lansbury, like a bunch of people in the group America, the band America, the music band.
Oh, I like
They
America.
do a lot of the music in it, and there was one part where there's like a unicorn, obviously, in
What's it
this little
called
book,
again?
The Last Unicorn.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very, and the bad guy in it, there's a bad guy or entity or whatever. I only watched half of it. We watched half of it. She fell asleep, so I want to wait until she's watching. But he's called the Red Bull, is the bad guy. And then I was thinking about Red Bull, and
The
I'm like,
drink.
the drink.
Mm-hmm.
So next time someone's like, I want a Red Bull, I'm like, you ever see The Last Unicorn? Like, that's the guy. But there's a part though where there's a wizard who befriends this unicorn who's on a quest. I'll just leave it that way. I don't want to give too much away. But there's this he's like a kid. He's a magician wizard, and he's still trying to figure out the magic. He can kind of do it. And when he's doing his spells, he says, "Magic, do as you will."
Holy smokes.
So he's not even trying to.
He's not
to
even doing anything. He's just asking the whatever source that he's after to do their will. That's funny as heck. And you know what's funny is I pray that way now. When people say, pray for me, I'm experiencing XYZ. I'm just like, God, whatever you have for that person, that's the best thing that you have for them, give them that best thing that you have for them. Whatever it is they need to encounter. And that that's not I'm not putting anything on that. I'm just going straight to source and going, you give them the best that you got. The best thing you got for them.
I love it, and what that reminds me is of a conversation I was having last night with Elizabeth. She was talking about the goddess Bridget. There's a Celtic goddess Bridget,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking. I was like, "Tell me about her." I'm like, "Is she kind of like an Isis archetype?" And she said, "Yeah, she is kind of like an Isis archetype." And she's telling me some different qualities of Bridget specifically because she's done a lot of like work with Bridget and stuff as an archetype. And so one thing she told me is when people ask Bridget for stuff, for things, if you ask Bridget for things, she doesn't always give you what you want. Sometimes if you need work in that area, she'll give
She
you
gives you
that.
what you need. And that's what I
Exactly.
ask. I'm just like, God, you just give them the best that you have for them and what they need.
Yep. And tell them to watch the Oversharing show. Anyway, here we go. So
So I usually don't tell
yeah,
people when I
so
have
I
a
think we got
show. Go
this
ahead.
part covered. No, no, I was just you go ahead. I'll
Okay,
stop
I
the
didn't
share. I
know if
think I'm a
you
little behind you again.
are
Must
you
be this
again?
time of day or something.
Weird. But it
Yeah,
was
maybe it's
fine
this time of day.
before.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I never usually tell people that I have a show. Like if I meet random people or whatever, I don't usually
Oh
tell them.
no.
But we were at this local bar the other night and having some happy hour snacks and drinks and met this guy there and we chatted for most of the time. Not most of, I mean, a good part of the evening that we were there. And before we were leaving, he seemed like a cool guy. So I told him about the show. I gave him the link and stuff. So, but I
Sweet.
usually don't do that.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You're like, tell everybody about the show. So that's why I had to say that to you.
Yeah, no. I was just saying in general when people are like having an issues if they say to
Yeah,
pray
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
and then be like, and watch the Oversharing show. That goes for anyone who's watching the show. You could tell people, I'll pray for you, and then be like, watch the Oversharing show. All right.
Ah. Are we on
Yeah,
the
I'm like,
last bit? Oh wait, where
yeah.
were we?
We are.
Oh, unmanifested, its greatness prevails. What do you think about that?
So I would say unmanifest would be like source. So it's like the block of wood thing that we got in the other verse
Oh,
where
yeah.
the form of whatever the carver is going to carve already exists in that block of wood. It's just up for the carver to manifest it into this reality. It's the same kind of thing
Yes.
with the Tao. Like it's already here. And everything you need, I was going to say want, but everything you need
Mm-hmm.
to walk your Dharma is right here.
Is here.
And I'm
And
talking to
it's,
myself, everybody, when I say that. I'm looking
yes.
at myself right now,
Like
Brandon. Everything you need.
that's I'm serious. We preach to
I know.
ourselves and we
I am
preach
too.
and we preach to the choir. That's the new name for our our fans. It's the
Our fans, the
choir.
choir, the oversharing choir. Oh, you're a genius. I love that. You want to join the oversharing choir? You don't even have to be able to sing.
Don't.
You just got to sit there and get preached to.
Oh,
You're preaching to the choir. Well, sometimes you got to preach to the choir because what if somebody in the choir isn't, as strong in faith?
yeah,
I get that. I get it. Uh,
absolutely. So there you go. Modeling himself upon the Tao, he who is wise does not contrive, but is content with what he achieves. That goes back to the gratitude.
yes. Yep.
And the word contrive, it's almost it kind of gives off vibes of like being a little bit, it's like kind of negative in some way, like has like a negative bent to it because you're like contriving. You know what I mean?
Uh, you could even say force things, They don't contrive, they don't scheme and plot and try to force
Yes, exactly.
to their own way, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
contriving, you think you know better than God.
And it's like, God, have your way. Like, have your way in my life, right?
Jesus, take the wheel.
Take the wheel for real.
Is there less in the back like, no.
How
He's like,
dare
"Fuck,
you?
I don't like when he drives us through. He brings us to McDonald's and he wants apple pies for everybody. See,
Ice
I am
cream
funny.
cones. Hmm.
We love Zerlath. Great. I think I'm going to go hiking. I'm going to try to get them to go hiking, not this weekend, but next weekend. So if you hear me, Zerlath, what are you doing next weekend? Let's go hiking. Elizabeth's going to New Hampshire, I think, to visit family,
Okay.
and I must remain to take care of the cats. I must
Yes.
remain. All right,
Yeah.
so let's go
Final
back and finish
portion
out.
of Aleister
Yes, the
Crowley.
final. Here we go.
All right.
Boom.
Aleister Crowley, verse 34, second half. All things return without knowledge of the cause thereof. There is nothing so great that it does not inhabit it or inform it. I'm changing the words there for clarity purposes. In this manner also may the sage perform his works. It is by not thrusting himself forward that he winneth to his success. And what were we just saying in the previous verse? The contriving, right? He doesn't force things. He doesn't thrust himself forward. Um, and then there you go. That to win, sorry, that he wins to his success. It's like Stan Rosenthal says, he's content with what he achieves. Oh, I love that. That's great. Um, like when I used to work in, work for the man, um, like there were there it was like, well, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And I felt like there was always this like push to like, you can do more, you can do greater, you can do this, and it's like, why can't we just be content with just doing like what we
Doing our
do?
job.
Yeah, I get it that, we want to do it well, but like, why can't we just be happy with that? And that used to irk the shit out of me. Um, because I'm like, I don't know where I'll be in 5 years. I really don't. It's up to God, really. I don't know. And I'm just doing my thing, you know? I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with everything. I'm good. Thank you. But you can't do that because then, oh, you don't get bonuses and you don't get raises and all this. It's like, such BS. I'm so glad it's over. Anyway,
Good point.
my rant is over.
All right.
Where were we? Last piece?
No problem. Good, because I think we're skipping again.
Oh,
Skipping
okay.
the night away. Oh, we're good now, I think. Yeah, that I love how we don't even really have to break that part down because we did so much breaking down of the first three verses that it just automatically makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the part, it might be confusing to somebody where he says all things return without knowledge. No, where it says there is nothing so great that it inhabiteth not and informeth not. So it's basically, like you were saying, it's just there's nothing too little that it doesn't affect.
And there's nothing too great either, because one was small and one was great. So it inhabits both small and great. It inhabits and informs small and great. And that first part that says all things return without knowledge of the cause thereof. What do you think that means? See, it's capitalized the C for cause. So I'm just like, does he mean like the source?
Oh, so I think it yeah, pretty much. So they return without knowing why. Like
Mm.
what's the cause of the return? They don't even understand. They just return.
Yeah, everything returns to source, whether they know it or not, whether they
Yeah,
like it
so
or
it's
not.
it's also kind of telling you to be okay with the mystery, right? You don't need to
Yeah,
know. There's
yeah.
some things that this is a need to know realm, and there's some things you don't need to know, or it doesn't work right.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, and I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know how it works. I'm just going by, you know, what this is saying. Could it be it's saying all things return, right? So it means returning to source. So if all things, that means everything, which means even the evil people and the people you hate and the people you dislike and the people who are destroying everything in this world.
In that little
And
country on the other side of the realm, Iranian. Sorry, yeah, those
you
people
know,
too.
could it be
Yeah,
they return to source too? And why? Because this is an experience. This is an experiment, perhaps, for us to have this experience in this realm.
they're playing the role they need to play to gain the knowing and the
Exactly.
experience that they need
Exactly.
to to get to the next level, right? So
Yes.
that it
Yes.
kind of reminds me what we were saying, and we've talked about this probably a while ago, maybe it was even last year sometime, about the veil of forgetfulness, because a lot of people will talk about, well, if there's reincarnation, then why do we forget our past lives, or why do we
One,
forget if we were somebody else? And I feel like it's like the movie Groundhog's Day. If it was like that and you knew it, then there wouldn't really be a risk to it. It'd be like fun. Like he just kills himself a bunch of times in that movie, because he knows every day he's just gonna wake up in the same spot. So that's why I said this is a need to know realm. And if there were certain things that we knew for sure, then it wouldn't work.
absolutely.
And I really feel like once we get out of here, we might even be like, oh shit. It's like it's like the good old days, man. We're gonna look back on this like, wow, those times are great, weren't they? And now we're like suffering and like, oh, I wish I didn't we could do this or this, and we have our egoic needs and wants. And I think that we're not really, if you're not in the present moment and showing gratitude for all the things that you have, later you're gonna look back and be like, oh man, it was the best then. I had this great time. I had a body. I could experience things.
Or it's like
So
waking up from a dream,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Exactly.
All
So
those
you're
things that you experience in a
worried
dream,
about. Yeah,
like they could be terrifying or they could be good or they could be bad, but that's just all it is. You wake up and you're like, oh, that was a dream. That's all it was. It was just a dream.
that's right. Merrily, merrily, as row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily.
Life
Life
is
is but
but
a
a dream.
dream. Exactly. Oh, that catches me out. It must be true. Well, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Should we tie the loose end? Should I finish the reading from this or should we skip it?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
All right. So it was number 19 and the changing lines look like this. You could see.
Here, I'll pin you, and then while I'm doing it, I'll just tell everybody what we do is when we pull the card in the beginning, there's another part that we from the card that we pulled that Sharon likes to read at the end. So that's what we're gonna do now.
So line number 1 is an unbroken line. It says, when forces of good begin to prevail, people of influence take notice, and men and women of ability are drawn to the center of action. Ooh, this kind of synced here. If you sense such movement, you are advised to join in, but don't let yourself be swept away by the tide of events. Careful movement brings the best fortune. Line 2 is also unbroken. It says, if you are presented with an opportunity, prospects for success are favorable. This is an excellent time to make a clear decision and take strong, valiant action. When a person possesses inner strength and self-confidence, the future is not a concern, for everything will move in a positive direction. Line number 3 is a broken line. It says, when things are going very well, you face the danger of becoming too relaxed and careless. Enjoy your successes, but remain mindful of how you have achieved them. There is a natural tendency to feel carefree once you are ahead, but the great players keep challenging themselves until the end of the game. Line number 4 is also a broken line. It says, an open-minded approach brings success. Organizations that value performance over superficial qualities advance more quickly than those who take a complacent or cliquey attitude. Avoid prejudices against those of different backgrounds. When laziness creeps into your personal life, radical action may be necessary to change this energy. Line number 5 is also broken. It says, the great leaders reveal true power by attracting people of excellent ability and by allowing key associates the freedom to exercise their own judgment. The person able to give power to those who can effectively exercise it gains more power in return. And line 6, the final line at the top, is also broken. It says, when a sage returns from seclusion to re-enter the day-to-day world, good fortune falls on those they teach and help. Seek objective advice from those you respect, particularly those who have not been caught up in your worldly affairs. Their perceptions may provide you with a fresh, new perspective. Spring is the season of new relationships. In the bounty of good times, new bonds are formed effortlessly. Relationships born in spring can serve well to warm us in the following autumn and winter. So
Oh,
there you
that's great.
go.
Some really good words there. All right, everybody. Yeah, I was just looking through the chat and people were talking about America songs. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
Ventura Highway and Horse With No
yeah,
Name.
yeah. Good songs.
Yeah.
Joe says a dream inside a dream ad infinitum. Pretty much what we were talking about earlier. So,
Yep.
well, thank you
And
everyone for being here.
yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This is the best way to support us, which I always tell you is to hang out here every Thursday when we either go live or premiere these. Hit thumbs up, comment, share, ask us questions. Let us know what you think of our breakdown of the Tao. If there's something you'd like to add or a question of something you think we didn't cover properly, let us know. You can go to morelawsmoreproblems.com, click on the Over Sharon tab. There's ways to contact us there. There's ways to support us financially there. All the good stuff's there. So check it out. If you like listening to just audio podcasts, we're on Podbean, which puts us on all the famous podcast catchers. So check it out: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, etc.
Not Google, because
So check
Google's
those
going
out.
away.
And like I said, look forward. Yeah, Google's going away, so you're gonna have to find a new way to
I
listen
don't
to
think
us.
anybody used it.
But yeah, check it out and look forward. Uh, yeah. Oh, well, good then. Just Google. That's how they're listening to us. Um, and I guess we already give a shout out to the chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out again. It's amazing. I still can't believe people come here and hang out with us. It's like a dream come true for me. So thank you. And what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
Well, there's a delay, so it's going to be a while before you hear me,
Uh-oh.
Brandon. But what do we say to the good people that once you stop over Sharon and Brandon's, we're going to wait. Drum roll, Brandon.
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
That's right.
All right, everybody. And remember, we're not telling you how to live.
Just giving you some tips on how to live a little more simply, perhaps. Could it be? Good
That's
night,
right, everybody.
everybody.
So we'll see you next week. Bye bye. Take care.